Hi and welcome back, my name is Emily. In this video I will be creating 2 Christmas cards using the Holly Jolly stamp set from Miss Ink, and I started off by creating one really simple card. I just took all of the images in this stamp set and I will stamp them out with some alcohol marker friendly ink. I used my Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And I also stamped out, at the same time as I stamped my focal image, I also stamped out my sentiment for this card. And all of this comes in the same Holly Jolly stamp set from Miss Ink. So I'm really carefully here aligning everything, making sure that I have everything straight. And when I'm happy with it, I will actually look through the light here, and I saw that my sentiment wasn't aligned perfectly, so I will use the grid here on the lid of my Misty just to perfectly position this. And that is really a good tip if you're struggling like I did here to assemble this and make everything look straight, just to use the grid lines. So you can see here I stamped it out a couple of times just to get a good impression. I'm just pressing down with my hand here, and then I will go ahead and use some Copic markers. You can use whatever markers you have in your stash. I just grabbed what was nearest me on my desk here. So I tried to figure out here where is the wood and where is the snow beginning. So this fence looks like it's covered in snow, and I really wanted to tie into that feeling and leave the parts on top of the fence here white, just so it could have the illusion of snow. And I will speed this up a lot because in real life this took me maybe 20 minutes to color or something like that. And so I'm no expert at coloring, and I'm not that fast at coloring, so I just did it because I absolutely love the result with Copic markers and alcohol markers in general, because the result is fast for me. I don't have to take too much time to blend stuff together and stuff like that. It just instantly gives a good result in my mind. So yeah, I also went in with a really pale blue color for my clouds as well as the snowbank here. Just filled everything out, so I think it looks cohesive, and I just faded my sky out into the white. I also went in with a really light cold gray marker to create the snow illusion of snow, and then some darker cold markers for the roof of my houses. And you can see, probably you can see some hands later on in this video. My kids was at home. There actually was break, I think it's called a break from their preschool, and I was also off work a couple of days, so we were all home together when I created this Christmas card, so they were playing besides me. So okay, enough about me. I went in with some stickles. I believe this one is called Starry Night, and I also went in with some white gel pen. And I just created some snowbanks where I thought it looked good, just to create some more interest in this really simple card. At this point I actually thought I was gonna leave it like this, but I will go in and put some adorable small critters here in a second. So the stamp set I use for that is called Little Angel, and I'm sorry about my nails. You will see here that I will shift them for the next part in this video, because I created this project over a couple of days. So I took the birds and I stamped them out and did the same thing in the same process here. I just used some Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I colored them in with my Copic markers. And I actually, when I'm doing stuff like that, I like to double stamp and make multiples of them. If I mess up when I'm fussy cutting, or if I just want to save them for my next project, it's so super handy to have in your stash a couple of stamps that is already colored. And I keep my pre-cut and maybe even colored images in the backing of my package. I know I've talked about this in the previous videos, but I think it's a really handy tip just to get your creativity going, and just getting over that step of coloring can be a good point to start if you are struggling to get starting with your Christmas card maybe. So that is just a good tip to color some images in and just have them ready when you're feeling to create. So I just color them in some soft shades here with my Copic markers, and I'm sorry, this is real time, so that is why it goes really slowly. And now you can see I will speed this up a little bit more when I'm trying out the placement for my creditors here. And I also use some foam squares to the backside of all of my images just to create some dimension between the images and our background. And I'm really pleased with how this card turned out. And when I was done with this, I sort of have all the supplies out. I thought it was best to go ahead and create another card when I was already in the mood for it. So I started, and I will actually stamp this and create an own background pattern later on. But I kept going with this card and I embellished it with some sequins. I believe these ones are from Pretty Pink Bars. And I just used some liquid glue that I had in my stash. And this is also real time, that is why it's super slow. Now it's more like it. Here we are. I sped it up a little bit, and you can see that I just used my finger to lift all the sequins to lay them down in place. I also went over the birds and the little mouse with some glitter, and I did the same thing to the berries here, and there you can see all the shimmer. Hopefully the camera is picking it up. I also had some parts that wasn't black enough for my liking, so I went over them with a black marker just to emphasize that, and I glued this down to a standard A2 size card base, and that finished off our first project. So this was, as I said previously, I just wanted to play, and I let this dry a lot. Otherwise, this is a really bad ink to use for the technique that I am going to do. I thought I was going to leave this black and white, but I actually decided to go in and color all of this with my Copic markers. But this is the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and that isn't a Copic friendly ink if you don't heat set it. But since I created this one day and I created the rest of it another day, that was totally fine because the ink had dried fully, and I was really careful when I colored this in. I also decided to heat emboss the sentiment for this card on top of some black cardstock. I just used some white embossing powder from Hero Arts. That is one of my favorite embossing inks that I have. I use it for a lot of projects, and I heat set that, and then off camera I colored it in the background in pretty much the same way as I colored my first image in. But you can see it's a couple of days later, and yeah, I took some foam tape to the backside just to create some dimension between our card base and our card panel, and I foam mounted as well the sentiment that we heat set previously. I fiddled around quite a lot with the placement for this sentiment, and when I finally I would say, because you will see I peel it off once more, I will press it hardly down. But this is also a good tip: if you're not sure if it's straight, just carefully lay it on top of your card base. Don't press it down too heavy, just be careful with it, and when you're liking it, then you can press it down like I did here. I have my two projects here and they are all finished. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment down below. Those two actions lets YouTube know that you like this video and I'd like to see more of this content in the future. I also have a coordinating blog post if you like to see more still shots of these projects. Until next time, have a great day. Bye!